Today we'll be having informational presentations from different student organizations. First up, we have from the Minnesota Association of Private College Students, Ben Bugby, who's the co-chair. So please introduce yourself for the record and begin.
Well, thank you very much. I am Ben Bugby from Painesville, Minnesota, and at St. John's University. And I'll just let my co-chairs, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman, introduce themselves as well.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elena Osmanlari, and I am from Bethany Lutheran College, Mankato, Minnesota.
Hello, Chair. My name is Victor Mokana. I am a student at the University of St. Thomas. I'm majoring in political science with a minor in criminal justice.
Thank you all. And all three of you, when you speak, please speak closer to the microphone. Thank you.
I am a senior at Bethany Lutheran College, Mankato, Minnesota, currently majoring in biology on a pre-med track and minoring in chemistry and legal studies, pursuing a paralegal certification. I serve as a vice president and chair of campus concerns for our student senate, president for law club and word club, and vice president for our science club. I grew up in Tirana, Albania, and started my education in the U.S. in Nacogdoches, Texas, as a high school student. After college, I plan on getting some clinical experience and applying to medical schools. This year, I have the honor of serving as a co-chair for the Minnesota Association of Private College Students, a community of passionate student leaders from 18 nonprofit colleges and universities across the state. We come together once a month to advocate for issues that matter most to our students on public policy and social initiatives. In the past, we have worked on impactful projects such as hunger-free campuses, Date the Capital, and have made efforts to support the Minnesota State Grant Program. Thank you to the committee for increasing investments in the Hunger-Free Campus program in 2023. That was a priority for MAPCS for a number of years before it was passed. This year, we're continuing our work to make sure the state grant is fully funded to help ensure that students across the state have access to the resources that they need to succeed. I will now pass it on to my co-chair, Ben Bugby, to further explain our mission.
Thank you very much, Elena. And once again, good afternoon, senators, leaders, and community members. Again, my name is Ben Bugby, and I have the privilege of serving as the co-chair of the Minnesota Association of Private College Students, and as well as serving as the president of the St. John's University student body. Beyond that, I am proud to call the small town of Painesville, Minnesota, my home. A community nestled about 90 miles west of the Twin Cities. Growing up there, I saw firsthand what it meant to uplift one another. Success wasn't just individual, it was shared. Whether someone exceeded on the football field, in the classroom, or in their business, we celebrated it because we believed in championing everyone, no matter their path. That spirit is not just unique to Painesville, it's quintessentially Minnesotan. We are a state built on grace, understanding, and a fierce commitment to opportunity for all. These values have made Minnesota one of the best places in the nation to raise a family. But behind that ranking lies a simple truth. We thrive as a state, as a people, because we care for one another. Today, I'm here to talk about upholding this legacy through the Minnesota State Grant, a promise not just to students, but to the very foundation of who we are as Minnesotans. The state grant is a lifeline for students from low and moderate income families, helping them achieve higher education and have access to greater opportunities and a brighter future. It empowers students to pursue unique pathways at Minnesota's many excellent colleges and universities. The grant reflects our shared values, bringing together students, families, the state, and private institutions to make education accessible. It's an investment in the future teachers, nurses, and business leaders who will shape Minnesota for decades to come. Yet today, this promise is in jeopardy. The grant is not fully funded, leaving countless students without the resources they need. Education is transformative. We know this. We know that it's the bridge between where someone is today and where they hope to be tomorrow. But that bridge must be accessible to everyone, regardless of their income or background. By fully funding the state grant, we affirm our belief in the potential of every student and the value of diverse pathways to success. We show we are committed to uplifting one another, not just in words, but in deeds. I ask you to consider the pride we take in our state and the values that define us. Let's ensure that every student, no matter their zip code or financial circumstances, has the chance to thrive. Let's keep Minnesota a beacon of opportunity where everyone can dream big and succeed. Thank you for your time and for the work that you do on behalf of all Minnesotans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, the committee. It is a privilege to speak to you today about the Minnesota State Grant and the impact it has had on my education. Again, my name is Victor Mokana. I serve as the Legislative Affairs Senator at the University of St. Thomas, as well as the co-legislative legislative senator with the Minnesota Association of Private Colleges. Pursuing higher education was always my dream and my family's wish, but financial challenges made college seem unattainable. We struggled financially after arriving as refugees in the United States in 2018, but the COVID-19 further worsened our situation. During my senior year of high school, I discovered resources such as the Minnesota State Grant and other scholarship opportunities available for students with financial needs. This motivated me to apply to a college that aligns with my goals and is recognized for its leadership opportunities, sense of community, and faith-based support. The cost of higher education is a concern. I work as a transfer orientation leader on campus to help cover some of the expenses, but I must confess that the Minnesota State Grant has been a crucial part of my college journey. I am blessed to be the first in my family to attend a four-year college thanks to the Minnesota State Grant. On behalf of all the students who may be experiencing financial instability, I urge you to continue supporting the Minnesota State Grant. The grant has kept my dream of education ongoing, and it has helped other students in financial need to pursue higher education. The potential cuts to the Minnesota State Grant may prevent some students from pursuing their dreams of higher education, or even prevent them from pursuing a college that may be right for them. The cut to the Minnesota State Grant would impact students who attend private institutions the most, as they are not part of the North Star program. This further takes away the freedom for students to pursue college that may be right for them, a college that may have resources and a community to support them. I believe that your support for the Minnesota State Grant will continue to fulfill the dreams of many students and many families who have been in the same situation as I. Thank you.
Thank you, all three of you, for your testimony. Before we go to the next testifiers, do we have any questions from committee members? Senator Duckworth, or Chair Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Just a couple questions, if that's okay. Victor, where did you say you're going to school?
I go to the University of St. Thomas.
Good man. Sorry to my Johnny up there, but good man. And you said you're the first in your family to go to a four-year school? That's
Yes.
awesome. Congratulations. What are you studying?
I am studying political science with a minor in criminal justice.
Okay. I have a poli-sci degree from St. Thomas, a business degree, and a minor in criminal justice, so we might have to talk afterward.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
How did you end up choosing University of St. Thomas?
It was definitely a challenge because going to college was one thing, but also being able to go to the right college was another thing. Something that really caught my attention of the university is that they had a scholarship program called the Sirisi Wildben Leadership Fellows Program. Essentially, it is both a mentorship and a scholarship program for students who are sort of, how should I say it, who are seeking to impact their community through leadership, and as well as scholarship and other mentorship support are provided. This really caught my attention. Another thing that sort of caught my attention of the school is the faith. It is it has resources for students who seek to continue in their faith. And that has really been a very crucial part of my journey as a person. I've been able to meet a lot of faith-based mentors who were able to help me during my time at the university. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. If I may, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing. And then is it Elena or Elena?
Elena,
And where did you say you're from originally?
Tirana, Albania.
Okay, and then somehow you came from Texas to Minnesota?
Yes.
Okay.
So from Texas, I went back home due to COVID, and then in 2021, I started my school at Bethany Lutheran College.
Okay, and you're studying what?
I'm studying biology on a pre-med track, but I'm also studying legal studies on a paralegal track.
Okay, gotcha. And how is it that you ended up at Bethel?
So Bethany Lutheran College.
Excuse me, Bethany, I
Bethany,
apologize.
yes. So I was looking for colleges in the U.S. that had a good pre-med program. I've made up my mind to be a doctor since I was like 5 years old. So I was looking for those colleges that had a good pre-med program, but they were also cost efficient because, after all, finances do play a really big role in, enrolling in a school. And Bethany had both of them. They offered me a good scholarship, and I learned that their pre-med program was great. It offered me many opportunities to be involved on campus, so that is how I came about to enroll at school.
Okay, thank you. And then just one more. I promise I'm not going to grill all the students that come up here. I promise you that. Ben, other than running for governor based on your speech, just kidding, you're very well spoken. And
Well,
you're Johnny, so that is a compliment, my friend. What are you studying at St. John's?
Yeah, thank you very much. I study political science and economics, sort of a double major. So,
Okay. And other than enrollment was closed at St. Thomas, how'd you end up at St. John's?
and I repeat that one more time if you don't mind.
How'd you end up choosing St. John's?
Well, thank you. It's actually sort of funny. St. Thomas was on the roster of possibilities, but I look at this panel here, and one beacon sticks out. and it's,
I regret my questions. My time is up, I'm sorry.
But truthfully, it's I always say there's three strong pillars of St. John's. We have tremendous co-curriculars that really offer a great variety for students that give them options to choose different pathways for success, just like the Minnesota State Grant does. But beyond that, great co-curriculars, phenomenal community, tight-knit in many capacities, and provocative education. That is exactly the combination I was looking for. And it's close to home. So like I said, I'm 90 miles away from the Twin Cities, but moreover, I'm 45 minutes from Paynesville at St. John's, and we have a resort in Paynesville, and so that keeps us hopping for sure. So good to be able to be close, but also separated by this bubble of education and opportunity.
Well, sounds good. Thank you to you all for being here and sharing your testimony and letting us know how that program has helped you all. And I can see somebody out of the corner of my eye itching to jump in and maybe give some comments or questions. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you.
Senator Putnam.
Ben and I are just going to have a private moment. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know your dad, don't I?
You do. Thank you very much. Yeah. A, for tolerating his emails, but moreover, for your assistance. So thank you.
Thanks. That's all I got, Mr. Chair. That was the important business that Ben and I had to transact.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you three so very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Next up, we have Vivian Dudley, State Government Coordinator. I'm sorry, from the Foster Advocates. I apologize. Is Vivian here? Thank you. Welcome, Vivian. Please introduce yourself for the record and begin.
Hi, my name is Vivian Dudley. Nice to see everybody. Chair and members of the committee, thank you for having me. My name is Vivian Dudley. I am 27 years old, and I'm here to share my experience as a college student in Minnesota, and also a recipient of the Foster and Independence Grant. I am a proud foster, a child of God, and a survivor. I just recently completed my associate's degree at St. Paul College, and now I am a student at St. Kate's University. I'm working to get my degree as a social worker and finally be a light in the life of others, the way so many have been for me. As a foster, my journey to this moment has been very complex. I have always loved school, and it was the one place I could feel my full organic self. Education has always been a place of refuge for me, a place and an opportunity to dream of a better world. Since I was 8 years old, I have wished to become a social worker. That dream still has not changed, and it has taken a great deal of patience to get here. It wasn't until fall of 2022, at the age of 24, that college became a reality for me because of the support I received with the Foster Independence Grant. Without the gift of FIG, I would not be in front of you today. At 24 years old, I took the steps to get into school. I applied and I was accepted to St. Paul College. I did not know anything about FAFSA or the Foster Independence Grant at the time. I didn't understand the ins and outs of financial aid, and I lacked the confidence to move forward. Looking back, I was so unprepared and so lost. My primary focus was just to ensure my basic needs were met. As I went to enroll at St. Paul College, I had to pay $300 just to hold my spot in my classes. I knew this was an investment for my future and my dreams. It was also the only money I had sitting in my bank account at the time, but I paid the fee, not knowing how I would get home that day. Still, I left feeling accomplished. I will be in school. I had nothing more than faith that FIG funds will come, and they did. So many people say we should live in the moment, but that wasn't really an option for me. I couldn't live in that moment anymore. All I really wanted to do was live in the hope of the future. I truly believe that with God, all things are possible. But with FIG, I was finally able to make that happen now. I was able to focus on school and not worry about housing. With this newfound stability, I was able to focus on what my priority was, my education. My very first semester went by quick. I was a part-time student taking 2 classes and still working 2 full-time jobs at the time. Once I received my FIG award, I felt gratitude and relief, to be honest. Even though FIG couldn't take away the burdens of my past, it felt like it was truly making up for it in some way. I was able to let go of my second full-time job and build a real budget. A budget where I didn't have to choose between food or transportation, housing, or books. Don't get me wrong, there were still burdens. There were days with no lunch, making a 45-minute walk to and from classes. Those were the hard days, but the way I saw it, I was still walking towards my future. I also knew there was an expiration date to all of this, and so I worked hard to prepare for that day that the Foster Independent Grant would no longer be available to me. When you have lived in survival mode for so long, you are always having to brace yourself for that fall. The fear of having to stall out over, I had to continue focusing on school, building connections and taking in all the resources and tools available to me. Coming here today, I had the opportunity to reflect on the real impact the Foster Independence Grant had, not only for me, but the 679 students, other fosters in Minnesota who have also benefited. Because I am now 27, I no longer am eligible for the Foster Independence Grant, while I continue my journey to finally become a social worker. I am facing the barriers that so many of our students in Minnesota face, the financial barriers and impossible choices just to make it to the finish line, keeping up with my bills and my mortgage and feeling like this progress could be taken away from me and slip right through my fingers. My life has been filled with impossible choices, and I know there are more to come. Getting my acceptance letter to St. Kate's, my dream school, was an amazing feeling, and suddenly it felt like my dream was being threatened by this new financial barrier. 2 years ago, I received a FIG award for $11,000, and 2 years later, I'm facing the same number of tuition that I have to now find a way to pay. It is one thing to go to college, but it's another thing to have dreams of going to your dream school and that becoming an actual reality that you're now living in. It has been hard to face, to be back in survival mode, and to have to fight to continue on this path. I can't help but wonder if this is really the best way for our students. In our collective future, there is much more work to be done to better support not only foster students, but all students who don't have the support that we all need. As an advocate, I will keep working to build awareness and spread the word to other fosters like me who are trying to reach their own dreams. It has been amazing to see them take that scary step. Fosters have already been through many adversities in their life. To access higher education shouldn't be another one. To all the fosters out there who may be listening, this is all possible. Don't ever stop dreaming. I've also worked to educate staff at St. Paul College and to teach them how to better support fosters on their campus. I hope to continue this work with foster advocates to teach colleges throughout the state because it is important. Thank you again, members of the community. To share a little bit of my experience as a student and about the Foster Independence Grant, I know it has been an important program to each of you, and I hope we will continue to fulfill this promise we made to our fosters in this state. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vivian, for your testimony and displaying to us how important the FIG program has been to you and many foster students as well. So thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments from any members? Chair Duckworth.
Thank you. Thanks, Vivian, for sharing your story. Appreciate that. Let me ask you, what got you interested in studying social work?
Well, from the age of 8, I've always wanted to be a social worker. From a young age, I faced many adversities, but the way my counselors and social workers at my own school was able to be like in my life, I always wanted to give that back to the community. So I knew that in order to do that, I would have to take an educational route to do that, and college was one of the routes on my stops.
If I may. Is that what you plan to continue studying at St. Kate's, or what's ultimately taken you to St. Kate's, and why are you continuing your education at that school?
So today actually was my first day at St. Kate's.
Well, are you skipping class right now? No, I'm just
No.
kidding.
No, I had class in the morning at 8.
Okay.
So I wanted to continue my education because I want to be a licensed social worker. I've already obtained my Associates of Arts degrees, so I technically could already start in my field. Right now, I work at a youth shelter, so I'm currently working in my field. But I know the impact that I want to have on youth in this community, and especially the state of Minnesota, is going to need more education, and that means a higher degree. So I am taking the steps necessary to solidify not just my future, but the people also that I will impact at some point in time. The more knowledge I have, the more ways I can help them, also help them in their future, in their lives. So getting my bachelor's and further my education is very important and crucial.
Great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you, Chair Duckworth. Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Vivian, I just say thanks for being here
No
and for
problem.
sharing
Thank
your
you.
story. But you're really cool.
Thank you.
But you're cool in multiple ways. I mean, when I admire anyone who goes into a helping or caring profession like social work, especially these days, and especially as it's getting much more complicated, especially given some of the concerns we have about resources coming from the federal government. The kind of work that you're going to do is much more important now than it's ever been, and it's going to be harder to do because we're not going to have the resources to do that work as well as we want. But equally important, perhaps more important, I really love the way you talked about your education, because it's not just about you. We, I think, just in general, too often forget about the public good, and that what you're doing in your education isn't just for you, even though your career that you're preparing to do is to help other people. The way you talked about your education was that, like, other fosters should see opportunity in it. So I want to thank you for all of the above.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much, Vivian, for your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, we have Shay Hornig, Student Government Coordinator, University of Minnesota. Welcome. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
All right. Co-Chair Fate, Co-Chair Duckworth, and committee members, my name is Shay Horning, and I'm the Director of State Affairs for the Undergraduate Student Government at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. I want to start by thanking the committee for elevating the voices of students in today's hearing. We're the ones who are directly impacted by the policy and funding decisions of this committee, and it means a lot that you're taking the time to hear from us, so thank you. The policies passed by the state legislature in the past few years have had a profoundly positive impact on the students, both at the University of Minnesota and across the state. The legislature took a bold step to make college more affordable with the North Star Promise program. And although I'm not a program recipient myself, I've seen firsthand how this program is changing students' lives. Now, I learned super quickly after I joined student government that we often get asked the question, so what do you guys actually do? And the first thing I always tell people is USG's steadfast support for North Star Promise. I was asked this exact question by a student back in the fall, and after mentioning how USG advocated for North Star Promise in 2023, his eyes lit up and he said, "Oh, that's how I'm able to go to college." And that situation is far from unique, as almost everyone on campus is facing some sort of financial burden. These aren't abstract challenges, they are real, deeply personal struggles to afford tuition, balance full-time and part-time jobs, and navigate the rising costs of housing and groceries. A majority of Americans recognize that the value of a college education, with 70% believing that earning a degree leads to higher wages and greater financial stability. However, only 53% believe that high-quality higher education is actually affordable. These findings from New America's latest Varying Degrees report highlight a troubling disconnect. While higher education is widely seen as a pathway to economic security, too many Americans feel that it's out of reach financially. That's why the majority of Americans support increased investment in higher education at both the state and federal levels. The North Star Promise program alleviates immense financial burdens and makes higher education possible when it otherwise may not have been. It's our state's commitment that your future should not be hindered because of the economic circumstances you were born into. In my position in USG, I focus a lot on the interdependent nature of awareness. It's vital for students to understand what happens at the state capitol because state policy has such a direct and profound impact on our lives. But this doesn't stop there. Policymakers need to be aware of the unique hardships facing this generation of students. For a lot of us, the dream of attending college comes with the weight of unprecedented challenges. Cost of living is outpacing wages, mental health concerns are on the rise, and systemic inequality persists, making higher education harder to access for far too many Minnesotans. These challenges are magnified by the uncertainty that we all carry about our futures. Yet programs like North Star Promise offer something invaluable: hope and opportunity. The power of this scholarship is not limited to its financial impact, but what it signals to students: that their education matters, that the state of Minnesota believes in their potential, and that an investment in them is an investment in our collective future. I've had the privilege of working with students whose lives have been shaped by the decisions made in this room. I can tell you with confidence that when students are given the support they need to succeed, they don't just survive, they thrive. They graduate ready to roll up their sleeves, innovate, and give back to their communities. They are ready to build the Minnesota that we want to see, but we have to give them a fighting chance. That is why we're seeing more students enroll at the University of Minnesota and at Minnesota State institutions. That is why USG is urging the legislature to expand the North Star Promise Scholarship so that middle-class families can benefit. That is why making college affordable is our top priority. Minnesota's strength lies in its highly educated workforce, but the rising cost of college threatens this legacy. With the 10th highest tuition and fees among flagship universities nationwide, many students face unsustainable levels of debt. This financial strain hinders students' ability to enroll, to complete their degrees, and participate fully in Minnesota's economy. The rising cost of living, rent, food, transportation, makes it harder for students to succeed. And yet, despite receiving $150 million in new state funding, the University of Minnesota raised tuition by 4.5% this year and 3.5% the year before. This is unsustainable. We need a mandated tuition freeze to stabilize costs and ensure that the dream of a college degree does not slip further out of reach. This isn't just a student issue, it's an economic one. Minnesota's workforce shortages demand that we graduate more students ready to step into critical industries. By keeping college affordable, we strengthen our state's economy, our communities, and our future. Now, affordability is one piece of the puzzle, but another critical piece is safety. Every student deserves to feel safe on campus. The University of Minnesota is required to have emergency plans for mass threats, but the reality is, while every building has a plan, almost all of them are outdated and hard to access. I'm a junior this year at the U, and I have never been told where to go or what to do in case of an emergency. In November, I was a part of USG's delegation to an Association of Big Ten Schools conference hosted by the University of Iowa, and we got to meet student government leaders from across the Big Ten network and see their utterly shocked expressions when we told them about our lack of safety preparedness. They were also genuinely concerned for us that it would have been comical if it wasn't surrounded by such a serious topic. This makes it all the more apparent that the U is falling behind other Big Ten institutions when it comes to supporting students at the most basic level. We need clear, updated, and accessible emergency preparedness plans for every campus building. We need mass threat preparedness training as part of the university's mandatory online training, just like sexual violence prevention and drug awareness, because safety should not be an afterthought, it should be a guarantee. And finally, we must address basic needs. No student should have to choose between eating and attending class. No student should be forced to sleep in their car because they can't afford rent. Yet roughly 19.1% of UMN students experience food insecurity. That's nearly 1 in 5 of my classmates. The Hunger-Free Campus grants and emergency assistance for post-secondary student programs have been lifelines, but we need to do more. We urge this legislature to fully fund these programs again this session and to go a step further by requiring a biannual basic needs assessment to track our progress. If we don't measure these problems, we can't fix them. At the heart of all of these issues, affordability, safety, and basic needs, is a simple truth. Students are asking for a fair shot at graduating without mountains of debt, a shot at feeling safe when we walk to class, a shot at focusing on education instead of wondering where that next meal might come from. That's why I'm here today, not just to advocate for policies, but to remind us of our shared responsibility. The decisions made in this room shape the lives of thousands of students. When you invest in students, you invest in the future of Minnesota. You invest in a workforce that will keep our state competitive. You invest in communities that will thrive for generations to come. So I ask you, let's not just talk about supporting students, let's act. Let's build on the progress we've made and make higher education a reality for every Minnesotan that wants it. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your commitment to ensuring that every student has the opportunity to thrive.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Are there any questions from members? Senator Verbatim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for your testimony. I really appreciated you saying that we can't just talk about supporting students who really need to take action. I'm just curious if you could share kind of more about your experience in undergraduate student government, working with the administration. It's really a priority for me that we are centering student voices in this committee and that we're encouraging the University of Minnesota to do so as well. So could you maybe share things that you think the administration and the regents are doing really well when it comes to engaging students and centering student voice and areas for improvement?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Shay.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Verbatim. I will say in my role specifically, because I mainly work with the state level, I can't really speak to my personal experience working with the administration, but I will say that the first thing that comes to mind is we have 2 representatives to the Board of Regents, and that's a great connection. They get to sit in on every Board of Regents meeting and talk directly with the regents, and that's just a really great connection to have. But beyond that, I don't really work with the administration specifically. I could get you more information about folks that do within USG though.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator Kupek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for your testimony. Most of us here on this committee right now are in the process of talking to potential regents candidates that are going to be up here. And you've already given me several ideas of a couple of new questions I could be asking. What, as a student, what question do you think we should be asking a regents candidate?
Ms. Hornick.
Thank you, Senator. That's a good question. I think the first thing that comes to mind just is about college affordability and just asking potential regents what they would do to make college more affordable.
Thank you. Chair Duckworth.
Let us know if we get any answers to that question. So first off, did you say what you're studying?
Senator, I don't believe I did. I'm studying political science, media and information, and economics.
Okay.
It's a mouthful.
Awesome. Well, very good. So we have something in common. So whether you are a part of the undergraduate student government at the U or you're a state senator, people ask us the same question, what is it that you actually do? So we're right there with you. But I want to say, point well taken on many things that you had to say, especially as it relates to tuition affordability. And then also I noticed on your back page about campus safety. Every student deserves to feel safe on campus, but rising instances of campus shootings have left many students feeling less safe. Hearing from you all, from students directly and families about how the legislature can help assist with that, I think is important. It's not lost on us. We keep hearing that campus safety is critical, so I appreciate that feedback. And then something I think everybody up here shares in common with you is the frustration at seeing the increase to tuition in the amounts that we have, especially over the last 2 years. You said around 8%, I had it at around 10%. But that's after they typically come here while we're in session and tell us they're freezing it. And then when we all go home in May, the news comes out that they've decided to increase it. I'm not trying to be critical, but what I am saying is if we're going to talk about tuition and affordability, it's not just students and families that need to tighten their belts. The U has to as well. And I hope those student representatives on the Board of Regents and the regents that are ultimately selected are partners with all of us in asking those tough questions to say, hey, what can you also do to keep these tuition rates as affordable as possible? So I appreciate you highlighting that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Chair Duckworth. Anyone else? Thank you so much, Ms. Hornig.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Kristen Catano and Grace Horn from Lead MN. Welcome. Please introduce yourselves for the record and begin.
Hello, my name is Christian Catano, and I'm an engineering student at Inver Hills Community College in Inver Grove Heights. I'm also the vice president of Lead MN. I'd like to initially thank you, Chair Fate, as well as thanking all of you, the members of the committee, for inviting us here and giving us the opportunity to speak about Lead MN and share who we are and what we do. So for some background context on Lead MN is the statewide student association for the 26 public two-year community and technical colleges in the Mid-State system. We represent over 105,000 students and at 47 campuses throughout the state of Minnesota, including, for no particular reason, Central Lakes College in Detroit Lakes and Staples, St. Cloud Community and Technical College, Minnesota State Community and Technical College in Moorhead and Wadena, Minnesota North College in Hibbing, Virginia and Eveleth, Pine Technical and Community College, and Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College. As a system, Min-State colleges serve a diverse student population, including many first-generation students, returning and adult students, international and immigrant students, as well as student parents. Lead MN is committed to meeting every student where they are, providing accessible statewide events, workshops, and intentional support. Lead MN also awards over $200,000 in scholarship every single year to help eliminate financial barriers to academic achievement and support students in reaching their graduation goals. It has been an exciting year for Lead MN as we have embraced input from students about the opportunities and programs that they want to see, creating student-led change within the organization. This has led to the creation of new advocacy positions that help students organize on their campuses and the creation of tailored workshops that support students' academic success and workplace readiness. I want to thank you all again for your time today, as we are grateful for the support that the Minnesota legislature has invested in the Min-State college system so that students like me can access all these opportunities.
Hello. Thank you, Chair Fate and the rest of the committee. It's a great honor to be here talking with all of you today. It's my first time testifying anything, so this is a big deal for me. I'm very excited and happy to be here. My name is Grace Horn, and right now I'm a third-year college student at Minnesota State College Southeast in Red Wing. I am set to graduate in just a few months, so it's been a long 3 years. But as Christian, I serve on the cabinet for Lead MN. I'm the current treasurer for this term, and I study business management. On top of going to school 3/4 time, I work 3 other jobs with Lead MN. So I work 4 jobs and go to school. One of the jobs, my primary job, I work in finance as a teller, cashier on the weekends, and then I am a musician. I perform twice a month in and out of the state. Kind of a fun job for me, but nonetheless still work. After college, I planned to open my own food truck and fulfill my dream to cook my favorite meals for others, travel, and book shows for myself, and just kind of live out that dream. So being here today is a bit surprising, but I'm very excited to be here. I do want to say that I'm a first-generation college student, and I decided to pursue my degree in business management so I can have a better understanding of how to run a business in the food industry. Minnesota State College Southeast in Red Wing is my local campus, and that college has been recommended by my advisors in high school for years and years, and they were very grateful to help us understand the system and help us apply for FAFSA when we were seniors. So it's nice to be at my local campus as well. The Min State two-year college system currently has the lowest tuition in Minnesota, which is a topic of deal breakers for someone like myself who comes from a single income family. Without affordable tuition, I would not be sitting here in front of all of you today. And going to college has given me so many opportunities to make an impact in my community, which eventually turned into making an impact statewide. Affordable tuition is the only reason that I was able to make a difference in my community, which is why I'm so passionate about Leda Men's current legislative agenda. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share with the committee today that Leda Men has legislative priorities for this session. We gathered them this past fall for our General Assembly, where any student taking even one credit at one of our 47 campuses is a voting member. It was clear that no matter which campus that students attended, whether it be urban, suburban, or rural, and no matter their background, students were concerned about the same things: affording their education and access to basic needs support. Guided by those student-led priorities, we are advocating in full support of the Minnesota State budget request for fiscal year 26-27. While the Min State college system is the most affordable post-secondary option in the state, it is also true that being able to afford the cost of college remains the biggest barrier to success, including considering costs beyond tuition and fees. We believe that state appropriations that cover a large portion of Min State's college operating budgets is a vital component to keeping tuition low, keeping important academic programs intact, including high-cost, high-need workforce programs, and investing in access for students who will be foundational in our state's workforce. We support the ongoing investment in emergency grants within the Min State system. Emergency grants help students cover unexpected expenses which arise in addition to the cost of attendance for college and ensure that these obstacles do not suspend or halt the education of students. A flat tire or an unexpected medical expense shouldn't be the difference between going to college or not. And as the treasurer for Leda Men, I have the privilege of reviewing emergency grants that students apply for within our organization. Each student, when they apply, briefly expresses their need when they send in their application, and every time I review their stories, I always wish that I could do more for them. Nearly every single application that we receive is requesting emergency funding for food because of a big life event. No one should ever have to choose between buying groceries for themselves or buying new tires for their vehicle. No one should ever have to decide to skip meals because they need to purchase textbooks or pay a medical expense. No one should ever have to be on the verge of dropping out of college because they have to pick up an additional job just to keep food on the table, even if that means putting their education on the back burner. We have the opportunity to change the lives of those in need, and most of the time, I wish I could add an extra zero to the grants that they're applying for, but nonetheless, I cannot. When we talk about basic needs and affordability and access, there is a direct line of food insecurity among students. We know that more than 30% of our students have experienced food insecurity in the last month. We're grateful for the attention and investment in addressing student hunger that this body has made with the Hunger Free Campus Grants Program, but with less than half of the funds being accessed by campuses, only 11 of our schools received the Hunger Free Campus designation. We feel that we can do more to ensure the core premise of this program is carried out, getting food into the hands of students in need so they can continue to thrive and achieve education and graduation. We support improvements to the existing Hunger Free Campus grants to remove the barriers to access for campuses and ultimately students. Additional investments in basic needs include mental health as well, since this is a growing crisis among our students. This has a negative impact on academic and co-curricular success. And by giving students the chance to focus on their education rather than additional jobs or unexpected bills by providing affordable education, we keep them on track for graduation and success. This investment also provides essential basic needs support and other campus-based student resources. And the role of on-campus support can act as a lifeline for many students within the Min-State system. With that being said, thank you for your time today and for the support of this committee and demonstrating that Minnesota is a state that values access to higher education. I look forward to being back here in a couple of weeks with 120 of my fellow students for our Advocacy Day on February 18th. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Are there any questions from members? Senator Umar-Verbain and then Senator Chair Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for your testimony. I'm really glad that you brought up emergency assistance grants. I was really proud to carry that bill in 2023 and planning to bring forward legislation again this year. And I think we hear this a lot from students, and you talked about it today, just the need to have that support in order to stay in school. I just wanted to highlight for committee members, because I was taking a look at the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund annual report from 2021 that just really had some really good evidence around why this helps keep students in school. They found that 9 in 10 colleges and universities said that those student emergency grant dollars enabled them to keep students enrolled. A specific example, in California, they were able to pay off outstanding debts to help encourage re-enrollment from students who had dropped during the pandemic. So, you know, there's reports out there that show the benefit of having these sort of emergency assistance programs, but I also really appreciate you taking the time to share kind of those individual stories of students who are just, you know, needing help getting food or transportation or some emergency housing costs. And it really is a decision of, am I going to be able to do that or, you know, be in school? And so I'm very supportive and look forward to working with you all to keep pushing that legislation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Duckworth.
Thank you. Well, I hope you bring that food truck and park it up outside the Capitol.
My first
Sorry.
customers.
I mean, on a day like today, it would do pretty well. What kind of food are we talking?
Southwest breakfast and coffee.
Okay, yes, bring that back, please. I think Senator Putnam will put you on speed dial. In all seriousness, though, you said how many jobs have you been working while you've also been going to school?
4.
Okay, and could you tell us again what those were in addition to lead MN?
So I work as a teller with Wells Fargo. That's my primary job. And then with Lead MN, obviously as the treasurer. And then on the weekends, I have a cashiering gig that I do every single weekend, never miss a weekend. And then I am a musician, so I book myself shows often just to pay the bills.
And going to school full-time?
3/4 time.
3/4 time?
Yes.
Well, I commend you for doing that, and I think it's an important perspective that we sometimes don't always hear about. Number one, that you don't necessarily go to school full-time. You do it 3/4 time so you can work and do some other things to help provide for yourself and your tuition and all the expenses that come with it. So number one, good on you for having a phenomenal work ethic and doing what it takes to do some of the hard work to ultimately get that education, which makes financially that much more important for folks, especially those that are doing that kind of work. So a very important perspective. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for sharing that with us. And don't forget to bring that truck back.
Any other members? Thank you so much for your testimony. Next up, we got Emily Hodge and Emma Gabbert from Students United. Please identify yourselves for the record and proceed.
Hello, my name is Emily Hodge, and I'm a Community Leadership Fellow and an undergrad at MSU Mankato studying social work. Oh, and thank you, Chair Fate, Chair Duckworth, and committee members for taking the time to listen to me today. So with that said, thank you again for the opportunity to share with you the work of Students United in this legislative session. Again, my name is Emily Hodge, and I am an undergrad at Minnesota State Mankato studying social work. Students United is a statewide student association representing and advocating for all current, future, and former students attending at Minnesota State's four-year universities. Since it was created by the legislature in 1967, Students United has been the official voice of students at Minnesota State universities. This year, I'm serving as a legislative fellow in the Community Leader Fellowship. This academic work study experience provides shadowing experiences for students within the Minnesota State system interested in advocacy, public relations, development, and other career fields. I've had a great experience with Students United through opportunities to complete policy research, interviewing university employees who run the basic needs programs, and speaking on behalf of students with legislators, and attending or testifying for a committee like this one for the first time today. And you may see me at Senate Higher Education Committees this session, taking notes to provide updates to our members, staff, and board members, including Emma Gabbert, who will speak here shortly about our legislative agenda.
Thank you, Emily. We have the M squared here today because my name is Emma, but it's great to be back. My name is Emma Gabbert, and I serve as student body president at Metro State University, and I serve as a board member for Students United. Our board of directors is made up of the 7 state student body presidents at each of our Minnesota State University campuses. In December, our board of directors approved our legislative agenda, which focuses on access, attainability, and affordability of a college education. Over a quarter of students across the 7 Minnesota State universities live with the daily burden of food insecurity. The Hunger-Free Campus Grant is necessary to address this problem, and our universities do not have the resources to meet the current demand. Therefore, we were surprised that over half of the last biennium's appropriation went unused. By raising grant caps, the legislature can act in a budget-neutral way to improve university access to existing funds that support staffing, equipment like freezers, and food ordering for our campus food shelves. M has conducted interviews with 10 university college food shelves, both within Minnesota State and outside, and this problem is consistent across higher education settings. We are also advocating for improved access to life-saving Narcan, or also known as naloxone, on college campuses. In 2023, I successfully administered naloxone and since have been advocating for expanding access. Naloxone is a life-saving drug that can reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. Overdose deaths rose nationally by 34% among young adults between 2018 and 2022. Narcan access is inconsistent across our universities, with some campuses providing nearly universal access, like Metro State, to others with no access at all, like our partners in rural Minnesota. We are calling for colleges and universities to stock naloxone in residential campus buildings, and that universities are added to the DHS Standing Order portal to access cost-effective naloxone. We thank Senator Bill Weber and Chair Fate for his support in this effort. Third, Students United seeks to improve FAFSA completion and enrollment rates among students by scaling the existing admissions program statewide. Today, 180 high schools participate in the Office of Higher Education's Minnesota Direct Admissions Program. Direct admissions provides proactive admission to Minnesota students who meet academic eligibility requirements and encourages them to apply to 2- and 4-year colleges, public and private, in the state. Minnesota ranks 35th in the nation for FAFSA completion. However, according to a October 2024 OHE report, high schools who participate in the direct admissions program have improved FAFSA completion rates, and early data suggests positive impacts on enrollment for our schools. Today, most high schools that have opted into this program are in the Twin Cities metro, created an urban-rural divide. As someone that went to Mankato State for my undergrad and now go to Metro for my master's, I can see the urban-rural divide clear as day. Students across the state should have access to this program. The last priority we are supporting is the Minnesota State's budget request. We believe a robust student support system is the best way to ensure students graduate college. Mental health resources, basic needs investments, and open educational resources are key to creating an accessible, affordable, and attainable education. Therefore, Students United fully supports the Minnesota State System's budget request to ensure students have the necessary resources to obtain a degree and contribute to the workforce. Once again, I want to thank Chair Fate, Chair Duckworth, and committee members for the opportunity to testify, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions from members? Seeing none, thank you all so much for taking the time to testify today and speaking on the issues that matter most to students and students like you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing that there aren't any more testifiers, we are now adjourned.